Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome back to Global Groove, where we are talking about African Americans or Black Americans who are thriving abroad. I am your host, Cha Jones, and today we are going to be talking about Thailand. And I am super excited to invite on my show Miss Eve Clark, who is going to talk about living in Thailand. And here we go. Hello, hello, and hello. Uh, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great, Sean. I'm glad to be here.
Can you tell us what part of Thailand that you live in?
So I was living in Chiang Mai, and now I'm splitting my time between Chiang Mai and Mexico, between Chiang Mai and Merida.
Okay. And I'm very familiar with Merida, so this should be a wonderful conversation. But I want to first start off giving my condolences to your family and to yourself because you just had a loss of your mother. And I know that that's a very difficult loss. Any loss is difficult, but definitely a loss of a parent is extremely difficult. So, my condolences to you and your
Thank
family.
you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And so I wanted to get started by just you telling us who are you, honey? Who are you? And what you doing out here in these streets?
Well, as my name states, my tagline is Disabled Diva Travels, right? I have been disabled for 28 years. I have multiple sclerosis. And having MS, I owned a construction company previously in Dallas. And one day I became very ill and I spent a month in the hospital and 6 months in full-time rehab. And I knew then that I needed to retire from construction, and it was going to look differently. My retirement would look differently than I thought it would. And I had looked into some places and saw that I could move abroad and decided to do it. I always thought I was going to move to Costa Rica because it's the number 2 place in the world to get treatment for multiple sclerosis.
Mm,
But I happened to see um, someone doing a remote work year. And I was like, oh, you know what? I could probably do that, but without the working part, right? I could I could go live in a different place, every few months. And so that's how I picked Thailand, right?
okay.
Thailand that would be my base for a few years as a place to start my expat journey. Had I not been ill, I maybe would not have done it. I might actually still be in Dallas, but that was one of the things that my illness kickstarted my need to want to live abroad. Um,
Okay.
and I selected Thailand basically just because I saw some people on remote work here starting off in Thailand. And I said, oh, I can do that too. So, started in Thailand, lived there for a year or so, and then lived in Indonesia and left there. Came back because, as you mentioned, my mom recently passed. And so I came back to Chicago to help out caring for her. So that's kind of how I started on my journey. And after that, I figured, oh, wait, I don't have to just stay in one place. I could slow travel around the world. And my husband and I did that for a while and absolutely loved it. But now that my mom has passed on, I believe we are just going to go back finally to Mexico.
Okay. So let's just talk about getting to Thailand because that is, a lot of times people choose something that's easier or closer. But to go all the way to Thailand, did you have any apprehensions about that's a big move because it's not 24 hours, it's like 36 hours to get to versus, Mexico.
Well, there was a little bit of apprehension. So, one, it was just the initial thought to leave, right? Leaving in and of itself. At first, remember, I said, oh, I think it's going to be Costa Rica because it's the number 2 place to get treatment for MS. I had done all my research and it was a 6-year plan to leave. And then, like a year or so out, I was like, I don't have to go there. I could change my mind and I could just drop in to Thailand, which we did. So the research was still similar, one of the problems, or I wouldn't call it hesitation, but one of the difficulties was I have a chronic illness, right? I take
Mm,
a lot of medicine. I mean, a gargantuan amount of meds. Um, Part of my preparation to leave was being able to take 6 months of medicine with me. I worked with my doctors and my insurance company to make that happen. And then along the way, I knew I would see people from America would come to visit me. And the next 3 months of medicine that I ordered, they would give it to my son. I would send it to his house and he would give it to whoever was coming my way. And
mm,
since 2019, that's basically how I've lived in terms of medication. Every three
okay.
months, no matter what, I'm pretty much going to see somebody that has come through Dallas, or somebody is coming to see me no matter where I am at in the world. And so my son just makes sure to get my medicine to that individual. And they bring it to
Mm,
me. I got medication handoffs in Dubai, Egypt, Rwanda, you name it. Somebody has passed me up or met up with me and brought me some medicine. One time they even brought my husband a jacket, right, from home. So
wow.
it I have a really great community of friends all over the world. So our first apprehension was Thailand is so far. I'm so sick. What am I going to do about it? But I just wanted to make sure my medical needs were taken care of, and they were. And
Okay.
and we went there to Thailand not knowing anybody, but there were groups on Facebook, and that softened the land a little bit. In Chiang Mai, they have what's called Sunday dinner. Every Sunday, somebody is meeting up for dinner. And so we went to the first couple of Sunday dinners, and we were able to meet a fantastic group of expats who are still our friends to this day, even though after COVID they dispersed to many places all over the world. Doesn't matter. I still see people and meet up with them in random countries from some of those first friends that we made right in Thailand.
Wonderful. And that's amazing because, and that's the one thing I really love about being an expat is that you acquire this extended family,
Mhm.
and your extended family, as they travel, they're going different places, they're experiencing different things, and then
Correct.
that becomes an extension of who you are. And that's
Mhm.
amazing. So hats off to you. I'm so glad that you did not allow your disability to prevent
Mhm.
you from being able to, because people allow little things to prevent them from moving or traveling.
I have
And
multiple chronic illnesses and I'm able to manage them all no matter where I'm at in the world. I've been hospitalized in multiple countries and
mm,
it still has worked out and been just fine. Most doctors you will find out in most places actually trained in America anyway.
right, so that's good. So if your apprehensions about where to move and how to move, just take this conversation to heart, that if you don't even have an illness, then you're a couple steps ahead. So don't let anything stop you. But let's talk a little bit more about Thailand. What did you love about Thailand?
Everything. Really, there's only one thing I dislike about Thailand. I loved everything about it. The food, the community, um, the different parts of the country that I went to see. So I was living in Chiang Mai, but I went to Phuket. I was down in Bangkok. I was in Pai. So different. Just because I lived in one place, but I was able to branch out and see other places. And while we were living in Thailand, every month we would pop off and go to another country for vacation because we went to Sydney. While we were there, that ticket was like maybe $150 or $200 to go to Sydney. We went to Vietnam while we were there. We went to Singapore while we were there. It was so easy to get to other countries just by being in Thailand. Once you'd already made that 24-hour journey to get to that side of the world, it becomes much easier to see other places while you're there.
Okay. Now you're living split time.
Yeah.
So between Chiang Mai and
Mhm.
Merida, tell us how could you compare the two? Because they're both on the top list of Black people, where Black people are moving and thriving abroad. But what are the differences, and how can you compare the two?
Okay, so one of the top differences in Thailand, one is the language barrier. right? You're gonna pick up some words. Like I could say chicken in multiple languages, right? Because I like chicken. So you are going to be able to, no matter what country you move in, the things that are very important to you, you will learn those words. You might can't put it in a sentence, but you're gonna learn the things that are very important to you. Right? I know some people are like, well, I don't speak that language. You're gonna pick up on those words. One, two, I gotta say the people, right? The Thai people are friendly, right? They just are, and they're helpful. I experienced that with everybody I came in contact to. I have some local Thai friends, and I love them still to this day. In fact, when COVID broke out and we were stuck in Indonesia, during we got stuck in Bali during COVID, and we couldn't return to Thailand. It was our Thai friends that went to our house and packed. We'd given them our key right before we left because they would always watch our fish. We had a big koi pond, and they would feed our fish for us when we were gone. But this last time we left, I just happened to give him the key to the actual house and not just to my gate. And I'm so thankful I did that because we were stuck in Indonesia and he was able to go to our house, pack up all our stuff, and he held it for us for 3 years while we were waiting to come back after COVID. And he's still a very good friend to this day.
Wow.
Yeah.
3 years.
Yeah, 3 years it took me to get back to Thailand. And everything was just like he packed it up because he videoed us, FaceTimed us as he was packing up our stuff. So everything was still there. I will say the difference between Thailand and Mexico, the difference in how long it takes to get to each place. So for me, I'm from Chicago, right? So when I moved to Texas, that little difference for me, that feels like the difference between Dallas and where I'm going to live in Mexico. It feels like you're gone, but not really, right? It's a 2 hour flight and I'm back in the USA. It's nothing. Spanish, even if you can't speak Spanish, a lot of the language, you can recognize a lot of the words, right? It's not as harsh as it is living in Thailand. Like where I lived in Thailand, I did not live downtown or near the old city where a lot of expats live. I lived in Sansai. So it was what they would consider the suburbs, way out, where there is not a lick of English anywhere. It's just local people. So that, and it made you, living out there, you had to learn chicken, onions, tomatoes, because I'm trying to go to the market. You had to learn a little bit more of the culture because I'm inundated in it. In Mexico, some people live there in Merida, they don't speak a lick of Spanish. You could still get by, no matter what. You can make it happen. It's not as harsh. Right. It's not as harsh of a difference being in Mexico as it is in Thailand. And in Thailand, unless you run into the Black expat community, you are a foreigner. You do not look like Thai people in any way. I don't care. If you're a light-skinned African-American person in Mexico, you could just be Black, right? You could be Latino. You could be. They don't know until you open your mouth. In Thailand, I don't care how many years you live there, you will always be seen as a foreigner anywhere, everywhere, as a Black woman. I am never going to be mistaken for a Thai person. I don't care how fluently I speak Thai, I'm still an outsider. And it's different in Mexico. They don't really care. I could just be Afro-Latina. It doesn't matter.
Right. So it's a different type of blend. So tell us, why do you think Black people are thriving in Chiang Mai specifically? Because they do have a larger expat community. What is the draw? And what do you think allows people to be there and to, kind of feel home away from home, so far away from home?
I would say with both places, it's the cost of living. Right.
Okay.
If you manage it properly in both places, you can live well on a little bit of money. On both places, you can live well if you navigate the visa process, the long-term visa process. There's ways, easy ways in both countries to live there long-term. Okay. And that is very attractive, especially for digital nomads. They're both very attractive places to live. In Thailand, in general, between Bangkok or Chiang Mai, you could comfortably find an apartment to live in for $300 or $400 a month. And the same
Mm.
thing in Mexico. You can find a decent place to live in Merida for $500 a month, a furnished house or a furnished apartment. It's very attractive.
Okay. So, as far as culturally, what were some of the things that you appreciated about Thailand?
Ooh, land of festivals. Boy, they have tons of them there in Thailand. But um, they, for their faith, a lot of them are Buddhist, and they believe in karma. And you truly feel that everywhere. You feel it. No matter where you're at, you feel that. In Mexico, Merida, you feel it in a different way. Merida is like one of it's either number two or it's definitely in the top 10 of the safest places to live in all of North America. And you
Hmm.
feel that. You definitely feel that there.
So, you talked a little bit about the community in Chiang Mai and the Sunday brunches. Now, tell me, is there anything that stands out that would make the Black community more cohesive, or just something that gives people a sense of belonging? Because that's the one thing I think, culturally, when we start moving abroad, you know, I think it's great that you want to assimilate into the culture, because that's important, to respect the culture that you're living in, also to get to know the locals, and to really understand. Because otherwise, you're just showing up in somebody else's country, right? But then there is aspects of it that, it becomes a little lonely if you're just by yourself and you haven't found a community, or oftentimes people who look like yourself. So, talk about a little of the community aspects in Chiang Mai, that where if people were trying to, move there, how they would have a soft landing, and in respects to community building.
So I will say both places really do quite well with this. Brothers and Sisters of Chiang Mai was the first Facebook group that I was in, and they really interact with each other. So there was that Facebook group, but outside of that, there were a group of people that met not just for Sunday dinner, they also met for game night, they met for poker night, they met for games in town, trivia nights. There is a once a month, just full on expat breakfast at one of the hotels for all expats, and no matter what country you're from. And so, and in addition to that, there's jazz nights out, spoken word night. So every holiday, every major holiday, they're going to get together. We hosted a big Christmas at our house, and we had like 75 people in our house for Christmas and Kwanzaa celebrations. So no matter what, that no matter if you want to, you're going to be as engaged as you want to be. Even if you
Hmm.
are a single, now it's me and my husband, so we are a pair. So we good with being in the house just by ourselves for weeks on end, and we could be fine. But for a single person, um, you're going to find your tribe. You're going to find, if you're a walker, like in Merida, they walk on Saturdays. In Chiang Mai, there is something going on at least once a week. There's something. And so you're going to find the people that you want to hang out with. Whether you're going to spoken word, you're going to trivia, you want to go to poker night, or you just want to come out for Sunday dinner, there's going to be a way for you to meet people. And even Brothers and Sisters of Bangkok, they just had Sunday dinner and they had 60 people there. So you will find somebody to create your own community of friends when you move abroad. And I caution people that if you are an introverted person, you can't afford to be introverted and live on the other side of the world, because if you have a health crisis, you need to know that somebody's going to be, oh, so and so hasn't been around for a month or a week or so. We need to be looking for that individual.
Hmm.
In Chiang Mai, a friend of ours, his cancer was really, really bad, and He had been hospitalized and been through some things, and we all took turns on who was coming over to bring him dinner for weeks on end. And that same gentleman came back to the USA for some treatment, and then he moved to Lisbon. And in Lisbon, we had built the same community of friends up to help him. I said, "Oh, you're moving to Lisbon. I know this person and this person. Let me connect you to them. So when you get there, there'll be somebody there for you." And
absolutely,
it's like that for me now, no matter where I go in the world, based off of all the people I met in Chiang Mai. I can't be somewhere and somebody not know an individual where I'm going. So I still have a soft landing. So if you're a single individual, there's ways for you to still make community. No matter pretty much if you're in any of the hot spots, I will call them. Some places are more popular than others for people that are leaving the US to land in. But you've got to get out there and find a way to show up at a lunch, a dinner, a hangout, just to make some type of friends. And don't discount local friends too. You don't want all your friends to just be expats from America.
right. And I was just about to say that because it's extremely important to connect with the local community and have people who especially when you're talking about you don't speak the language, who can, advocate for you or be a conduit between you and a medical service or you and, some of the office places that you have to conduct business. If you have a local person that is working on your behalf or who can translate for you, you are doing 10 times better than just the average expat who's trying to do it all on their own. So I think that's extremely important.
Oh, the way my friend Koy in Chiang Mai would go to the market for me and tell me they was charging me too much for them tomatoes. Oh my God. I just sit back and watch her work. Like, girl, I want some cucumbers, some tomatoes, some onions, and 2 heads of lettuce. And she would get to work.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, she was teaching me the prices because of course when they see me, and then it's hard to make out the Thai language. Even when you pick up on the words, I could say the words, but they still know I'm an American. So they ain't gonna charge me a different price. But Koya would be like, no, ma'am. That onion is 5 baht. It's 5 baht all day. But she was my friend. She started out as my Uber driver.
Oh, wow.
I was like, how did we live? Like I said, we lived quite a ways and we lived in a gated community. So when we ordered a ride and she was there in like 3 minutes, we're like, how did you get here? She was like, I live on the next block. I was like, you the one. And we became we're still friends to this day.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
People discount the drivers, the Grab drivers, the Uber drivers, because they think, well, that's a service person, and that person could be a commodity.
That's your new friend, and you don't know it, right?
I remember when we first got to Malaysia, we ordered a driver to take us to like neighborhoods, and just like 4 hours, we hired somebody, and it was a young guy, and at first he was like, he did that too. He lived across the street from where we were staying in the Airbnb. And he showed up in like 2 minutes. And we were like, how that? He's like, you're my first ride for the day. And he was so giddy. He dropped us off at this restaurant. We was like, take us to like a really good restaurant. And he took us to the restaurant and he was just so kind. And he gave us his number. He was like, just call me if you need anything. So I think, when you get to know like the drivers and you get to know like the service people who are helping you, you do yourself a world of service by just communicating with them, because oftentimes people disregard them. And so they're happy that you're talking to them like they're human beings, right? And so it just makes it a lot easier for you.
Honey, those are my new friends. When I get in the car, you want to interview. Hey, what you doing? Okay, well, did you have a good day? Has it been busy? For real? Do you drive outside of this? Or what else you do? Or I'm talking to you. I want to know the business, especially if I've landed someplace new. I want to know, can I call this person to take me wherever I want to go? right? Because it's that waiting time, all right? I'm going to pay for convenience. I will pay you. What does Uber want? I'm going to pay you that, and I'm going to tip you a little bit, right? Because when I take a little bit longer than I said I was going to take someplace, I want you to know I'm always going to pay you fairly, right? And that makes a difference to them, but also they're your friends. They become
Mhm.
people you know, and they tell you things that you wouldn't ordinarily find out about. Like, even I stayed for 3 months in France, and the last Airbnb that I stayed at, that's my homie, right? Johnny, the landlord there. When I had come back at the end of my stay, I left, went to London, and came back. And we got in a cab, and that cab was trying to overcharge us. And I knew it. I got on the phone and called him. He was like, no, that's too much. You tell him you're going to pay this amount. And if not, you call in the police. I was like, yeah, I bet. I knew that. I knew it was too much. And the guy, he agreed upon the rate that we wanted to pay. And the guy, the landlord, he called me back. He's like, do I need to call the police? Are you okay? Is everything good? I'm like, nah, Johnny, I'm good. But he was vested. I knew that he would tell me the truth, but he became vested in a situation where I'm going to a hotel now. I'm not even at his place, but we had talked so many times while I was staying in his place that he was still vested in making sure I was
Mm.
okay and that I was safe. That meant something to him.
Absolutely. I love it. So, getting back to Thailand and someone moving to Thailand,
Mhm.
if you're considering Thailand as a place or option for building a new life abroad, specifically given the current political
Mhm.
climate, what advice would you give someone who is considering moving to Thailand, and especially now, like top five things that you need to do and to prepare to move to Thailand?
So, first of all, the first thing in the top five is prepare. Don't let the current things that are going on politically rush you to pack your bags to move someplace and you are unprepared. That is too far and too expensive to have to hop back over here if you are not properly prepared to be there for the amount of time that you intend on being there, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, 5 years. Make sure you go with a plan for your one, prepare. Two, visa, right? What kind of visa situation are you going to be in? You get a 60-day visa automatically upon arrival. You can extend that for 30 days now on a tourist visa. You could leave and the clock resets, but sometimes they can decide, no, you was just here. I'm only going to give you 30 days, right? Don't try to live someplace on a tourist visa if you haven't planned properly. They have several digital nomad visas that on retirement visas also that are available there. So make sure you go on the right visa because they petty sometimes too. I have seen them. People went for a border run, came back, couldn't get back in the country, and they got a whole apartment set up that they can't get back into. So just make sure you go with the right type of visa. So that's prepare. Make sure you have the proper visa. Make sure you have the proper income. I know now with the political climate the way it is, people are like, I'm up out of here. I'm up out of here before inauguration. But you haven't really thought it out and you haven't thought about how you're going to get a job. You are not getting nobody's job if you move to another country unless you have a special set of skills. You're not Liam, you're not Liam Neeson, so you don't have the skills needed mostly to be hired by a job in country. You need to come with your own job, be it your own entrepreneurship job or your own remote job. That's work from anywhere, not necessarily work from home, because technically your work from home job, your company could mean that's work from home with inside the United States. So
Mm-hmm.
make sure that you know if your job is going to let you work from anywhere. And yes, there are some people that will tell you you could just get a VPN and hide your IP address. And I'm telling you right now, if you are working on with somebody else's laptop from your job, they know where you at. If even if you're using a VPN to hide your IP address, they know. Right now, if you work for a small 2, 3, 5 person mom and pop company, they might not know. But any company that has an IT department, trust me, even using a VPN, they know. Now, knowing and caring, those are two separate things. Sometimes they might know and they don't care. And sometimes they might know, they care, but they can't replace you right away, but they're trying to figure out how to do it. if you're trying to shield the fact that you're away. So no, make sure your source of income is straight. That's all I'm saying. Um, and medically, right? Make sure that you medically are healthy enough to leave, or that you know enough if you have any kind of special circumstances like I do, that you know your illness can be managed from abroad. And I got a bunch of health conditions and I travel all over the world and I always make it happen. So it generally, depending on what's wrong with you, you can manage it from anywhere. And the last thing I would say is prepare your family and friends, right? So I was gone, right? I came back during, I was gone, COVID happened, I left again. I came back when I needed to help my family take care of my mom. I left again, and then I got word that yes, she was indeed passing or getting ready to transition, and I came back. So make sure that you have a plan if you have elderly parents. My mom was 93. She just died a few weeks ago. And I was prepared when I left in 2019. Whatever happens, happens. I knew that the only person I was going to come back for if they passed away while I was in Thailand would have been my mom, right? And she was fine. Like I said, she just passed and she was 93. I left Asia for her 90th birthday. That's when I finally came back after COVID. And then I left again. Then I was out of here. And then I made sure I was back every year for her birthday. And so just have a plan for dealing with your elderly family. Have a plan for dealing with your grandparents if you want to see your grandparents or your grandkids, because the farther you are away, the more money it is to come back. So just know what your limitations are on that.
That's all good advice, especially the planning and preparing, because I think oftentimes, especially once we had the election, I saw like a huge influx of people. I'm leaving, I'm leaving, I'm leaving. And my thing was, we make a lot of decisions off emotion. And, you know, first of all, the presidency is not the role in America that affects your daily life, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you have a president and they have policies and procedures that, they're going to put in place for the nation. But on your day-to-day life is impacted by the political
Local
climate
government.
in the country, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
in the state that you're living in. So your governor, your senators, those people are the people that you need to make sure that are in place, because they dictate how the president is going to move.
Those
And so,
federal judges, those appellate judges, those elections that people don't pay attention to in the
right,
off years, the school board elections, all those things matter even more so than who's sitting in the White House. And
right,
he or she, they can do certain things by executive order, but they need Congress and the Senate to do a lot of other things. So those are the things that you should really concern yourself for and plan. Don't make a rush decision to leave when everybody is not properly prepared. Some people got enough money that they can say, deuces, I'm out. I work for myself. I can leave. But other people, just take a moment to exhale and really think out a plan and then leave, because someplace like Thailand is too far to go if you haven't properly thought it through on how you're going to support yourself and take care of yourself and your family. If you happen to have children, how you're going to support everybody when you're on the other side of the world.
absolutely. So I'm glad that you said that, and I'm glad we're talking about planning and preparing. I'm going to take one moment to just do my thing and let everyone know that I have a international relocation tour that is in Kuala Lumpur. People sleep on Kuala Lumpur. They like, what? Malaysia? But yes, Malaysia. I live here. It's a wonderful place. There's a great opportunity. I started the Brothers and Sisters group here. We went from one person, myself, to now 50 people in less than 5 months. And we are continuously growing. But, planning and preparing is extremely important. And I advise anybody who can go to a place and actually see it prior to deciding I'm going to invest my time and energy in a place. So if you're interested in considering Kuala Lumpur, I have a relocation tour that is January 27th to February 3rd, which is also during Chinese New Year. So you get two for one. You get to experience a cultural phenomenon, and then you also get to experience the city. You'll get to meet realtors, immigration. If you have children, you'll also get to ask questions and hear from the international schools. You'll get to do a site tour to the neighborhoods, because here it's pretty big and you have several different expat neighborhoods that accommodate expats. You also will get to see sightseeing and connect with other people. So don't miss out. The information is going to be in the description. So think about it. Consider Kuala Lumpur as your next travel exploration. All right. That's my seamless plug.
Well, look, you know what? That is much needed, because I'll tell you how I found my first house in Thailand. We booked a hotel and that we stayed at for a week, and literally it was Facebook Marketplace. Found a realtor in a Facebook group and said, "Hey, I want to go see these places," and she took us around. And really, it wasn't the first house we saw. We saw one condo. Before we ended up at that house, we saw the house. I said, I think this is it. But I still saw 4 more places after that. Right. And that's still, it made all the difference in the world to be able to do that and see things. In Merida, it was the same thing. In Merida, a lot of my friends from Thailand, they actually live in Merida now. Right. So I'm moving there with built-in community, right? Built-in community and built-in friends already. But I'm able to say, hey, one apartment that I've been waiting for literally just came up that was available while I was here dealing with my mom. And I'm like, yeah, you guys can go ahead and rent that out, because I'm not going to be back in time for that one. But that was all what? Community of friends letting me know, hey, this place is available, that place is available, this place is available in Mexico. And that means a lot too, especially when lots of times in certain places, it's hard to get your deposit back depending on what country it is. Sometimes because they just don't feel like it. And I don't care what that contract said. If they don't feel like giving it back to you, sometimes they just don't. And it's really nothing you can really do about it sometimes. So it's good to have a community that can help you maybe find a landlord or find a reputable place to stay. So if Sha is doing a relocation tour, that is so valuable to people coming into a soft landing. I would highly recommend it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I would be remiss if I only talked about the good aspects. So let's talk about challenges. What challenges did you have in respects to being in Chiang Mai, or challenges maybe that you saw people that they experienced going to Chiang Mai or to Thailand that
So
may be avoided?
one was, hey, I was hospitalized, right? A lot of people don't talk about it. They prepare, and even I was prepared for it. I had a credit card at the ready, waiting. I had 2 different types of insurance, and definitely needed all of that. I have Medicare, but through my Medicare health plan, I also have Humana. My Humana plan comes with global hospitalization, but it's secondary, which means Humana not paying the bill. I always got to get reimbursed. So you have to be prepared. And these hospitals are not like America. You're not leaving there without paying the bill, right? And you can have travel insurance, but guess what? If that travel insurance is a primary or secondary, because you're still not leaving there without paying the bill. Because if it's secondary, they're not going to pay the hospital up front, or they want a certain amount of things to happen before they decide to pay up front. So in my Thailand hospitalization, I think I was there just under a week. And I think the whole stay was under $1,200, or maybe right at $1,200. During that stay, I just paid the bill. and then submitted the documents to my insurance company when they paid what they were going to pay. And then my other travel insurance paid the rest of it after Humana paid. So a lot of people think, oh, I got travel insurance, I'm covered, or I got travel insurance with my credit card, I'm covered. Not really. You need to really look at the fine print and truly understand your policies to make sure you're fully covered and know what primary means and what secondary means.
Okay. That's good advice because oftentimes people don't even think about, oh, I'm healthy, and they don't even consider like what if something
Actually,
happens.
would you believe that each time I've been hospitalized, I was hospitalized in Thailand and in Indonesia. Both times it wasn't having multiple sclerosis, nothing to do with it. In Thailand, I fell in the shower and got a
Oh,
concussion and a bone bruise and had to stay in the hospital because of it. In Indonesia, I just caught pneumonia. And who would believe it's 90 degrees outside? I still caught pneumonia and was
wow.
in the hospital for a week for it. So anything can happen. And a lot of the reasons why people end up needing medical treatment, they ride scooters and mopeds and they fall off of them. And would you believe that travel insurance, the majority of them do not cover you for accidents on mopeds and motorbikes? And that's
Wow.
something that people don't think about. You can add it. Usually the rider to add it to the policy is only like $10 or $12. But a lot
Mm,
of people don't think that that's something extreme, or they don't even realize that extreme sports or excursions in general are not covered by your travel insurance. And that's just something to think about.
yeah. But, one of the things I have found, because I've had to go to emergency here twice because of my son, it's so much cheaper. I have insurance, but it would be like, first of all, it's going to take forever in the paperwork to get reimbursement, but there's no even need for reimbursement because it's a lot cheaper to just pay out of pocket. I've taken him to emergency, and the highest bill was $60. So I'm thankful for that because the medical is so much cheaper than the insurance covering something in the U.S. You said you were there just shy of a week. I was in the hospital a week in America, and the bill came to $64,000. So
We
the
won't even talk about my American bills. One time I was there 90 minutes in the ER, $12,000. Not 90 minutes. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really some ridiculousness. So, what are some misconceptions people might have about living in Thailand? And what's the reality that you've encountered?
And that the people are rude. They're not. That you won't be able to understand anything because it's a foreign language. You absolutely will find a way. Google Translate is everywhere, right? It's on your phone. A lot of phones now have instant translation. Um, so that makes a difference. Um, Costs. A lot of people just haven't done the research to see how much it really costs to live places because sometimes with a little research, it's cheaper than you think. Um, Medical, always, or what's going to happen if I get sick. Hospitalization, you hear I paid both those hospital bills out of my pocket, and then I just submitted it to get reimbursed for. And most of the medicines you would go to the doctor for, especially in Thailand, you can just go to the pharmacy. You can go to the pharmacy and they can fix most of what's wrong with you there, and the medications are cheaper. Same thing in Mexico, right there. In both places, you can get a house call too. So it's just easier to get care and quicker and cheaper in most of these countries abroad. Definitely in Thailand and Mexico. That has been my firsthand experience, and a lot of people don't assume that it could be that simple, and it really is.
Absolutely. I love it. And, having lived in Mexico and here in Southeast Asia, the comparison is, you know, when you compare it back to America and some of the things and services that you get in America and how people perceive this is the greatest country, and you know we have all these amenities and this is, and it's extremely expensive for those amenities, The service is lacking, especially now. Customer service is out of the door. Nobody is really practicing that anymore. And what once made America great is not necessarily working these days. And so I think it's extremely important that if you are planning to live abroad, that you do look at some of those things. And even if you are the healthiest person, you have to consider what ifs and have to think.
Absolutely. You absolutely should consider it. I don't leave America without some form of insurance. You can get Safety Wing, I think it is. It's like $30 or $40 a month. Even World Nomads insurance is $30, $40 a month, which is nothing just for your basic coverage. We call that catastrophic coverage. If you need to be hospitalized or something like that, you should leave with the bare minimum. You should leave with at least one of those policies. And also, let's just face it, people pass away abroad. And do you want your family to be paying $10,000 to bring your body back? If you haven't made arrangements. And speaking of that, don't go without one. If you're going alone, make sure you got a plan for if something happens to you. What's your emergency plan? Who do your local friends, who do they need to contact? My local friends knew if something happened to me and my husband, you need to get on the phone and call my son, right? They knew him. They talked to him on FaceTime and, hey, this is my son. This Aaron. Hey, he on the phone. Mm-hmm. Hey, this is Aaron, right? Here's his number. If something happens to us, it's Aaron, right? So you cannot be my friend in any country and not know who my son is, right? I'm telling you who you need to contact if something happens to you. So if you move abroad, especially if you go as a single person, make sure you make a local friend and somebody knows what to do if something happens to you and you can't speak. If you don't want to tell anybody, keep an envelope somewhere in your apartment that says in case of emergency, right? Open that. So somebody would come into your apartment and they would know what to do or who to contact. Because people don't think about that sometimes, especially the solo folks.
Yeah.
And have somebody back home that you are contacting with in a certain amount of time. My family, we call it proof of life pictures on social media, right? Me and my husband are going to post some kind of picture every day of us out eating or doing something. If you didn't see anything from us within 3 days on social media, it's a problem, right? You either didn't see it, then you need to get on the phone and call us, right? We made sure that we were the same in that aspect, right? So our immediate family knew to look for that. So if you're traveling afar, what's your plan? So your family needs to know. If you haven't heard from me or seen me saying something somewhere in so many days, then who are you contacting? Does somebody back home have your address? Do they have your landlord's information? Did you give them the number of a local person or an American friend that you have there? Like, you have to have some kind of plan.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned that because I do have a free checklist that you can pick up in the description that gives you, like, if you're planning to move abroad, it gives you from the day that you think about it to the day that you actually leave, all the things that you need to cover, whether it's medical, whether it's just putting the friends and family in place to, getting your drivers. It's a checklist of everything that you need. And it's free. So free 99. You can't beat that. In the description. Last but not least, let's talk about living abroad. And
wait, speaking of that, I do have on my, I'm pretty sure it's on my website. I do have an insurance checklist of questions that you need to think about when you are looking for an insurance policy. It's free. I think the checklist of like 20 questions.
That is, we need that. And I don't know that I have your IG, but we're going to
My website is exactly the same, disableddivatravels.com.
All right. So you make sure you go over there and get that checklist too at her website, because that's going to be important. And we don't think about the policies and what we need to ask. And sometimes we leave things off and we don't want to do that.
And for any of my elders or my disabled, I'm a disabled individual. I'm on Medicare. Medicare people, it's open enrollment time. Guess what? Check those plans for worldwide global hospitalization. It's free. It's in Humana, definitely on almost all of the Humana plans. I want to say Blue Cross Blue Shield has it, and possibly United. Check those plans right now because it is open enrollment. Even though I'm gone from America, baby, I pop back once a year and get all of my workups done, right? I'm still utilizing my health insurance to make sure I pay for that. It comes out of my little Social Security check every month to make sure that I can still be seen and I can still get all my medicines. But check now during open enrollment for global hospitalization. It works, it's for real. I've used it in multiple countries and it's paid for itself.
Absolutely. That's good advice, especially if it's free and
It's
all you got to
free.
do
You're
is
getting
go
it.
home,
It's
get your
free. You're
checkup.
getting it. Yep, you're getting it anyway. So just check for the plan that has it. It's called worldwide hospitalization coverage.
That's a good nugget to have. So, my last question to you is: has anything changed from your perspective, um, including the views on U.S.? How has your time in Thailand as well as in Mexico shaped your view of America, or how you are just living and appreciating more being away from America?
So one part of it is I like to slow travel now, right? It is pretty easy for me and my husband to slow travel and to split our time and to bop around. I appreciate that blue passport that we have from the United States of America. I cannot afford to live in America on my standard income, but being an American affords me the opportunity to be able to travel to other countries, whether I decide to stay there long term or short term. Being an American affords that to me. Now, I don't care for the political climate here, both sides, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, it doesn't matter. They're all petty um, on either side. But
Right.
I
Say
am
that.
involved in understanding how government works. I vote, baby. In 2020, when I was stuck in Indonesia, you better believe that I ordered my ballot and we took that ballot to DHL and we sent it off and we tracked it to make sure it got to our polling place and that it was counted because voting is important to me because I don't ever want to lose my passport privileges. And I believe that I need to participate in voting to ensure that I still have that right. But being gone from here makes me appreciate, like in other countries, when America was arguing over how they were treating COVID, we didn't have that in other countries. If they said you're going to wear that mask, you're going to do it, or you're going to jail. Or if you're going to do it, or if you're a foreigner, guess what? They're going to deport you if you don't do it. So it was just that relaxed environment. There's not politically both places, right? They both got their own drama, but it's not as harsh and in your face as it is in America. And I appreciate, while I still love the USA, I don't ever really want to live here full time anymore. But I do appreciate um, this country for what it affords me to do in other countries. That said, I appreciate in other countries how they respect their governments. Um, and their news, even though it's all propaganda, everybody filters out what they really want you to hear. Every country does in some way. I do appreciate the fact that I know how to go find the news and I know how to investigate the news and how to see when something is real and when it's just propaganda. And I will say being an American helped me appreciate that more when I'm traveling other places.
Absolutely. Well, I'm thankful that you stopped by to have a conversation here on Global Groove. It's always nice to talk to people who are traveling the world and get their perspective on how life is and how life has changed, as well as some of the nuggets, because you dropped some nuggets for us, especially around healthcare. And so I also want to just remind people that Eve has a disability, but that disability hasn't stopped her, and you don't even have a disability, and you have allowed things to stop you from doing the things that you desire to do. If you have a dream, it's time to accomplish it. And the worst thing for you to do, in my opinion, is to die with your music still in you. So go ahead and sing. Let us hear your voice. It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me here. And if you have not seen the past episodes of Global Groove, you need to go check them out. We've done Mexico, we've done Colombia, we've done Lisbon. And so we have a couple more in store for you over the next 3 weeks. But until next time, enjoy your life, be kind, and don't let anything stop you. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Oh, do you have any final words, or you want to drop
You know what?
any moment?
I think you summed it up so well, but I just want people to be prepared. Do just the slightest bit of research and don't be afraid. There is a country out there for you. There is something for everybody, whether you are a disabled individual or whether you are a single solo traveler, there is something out there for you. There is a community for you. And I'm going to tell you something. As an American, these other countries are ready for you, and they do have a welcoming spirit. And I've enjoyed it. My husband and I, we've enjoyed ourselves in basically every country that we've been in. And Thailand is the cream of the crop. I'm so happy that we started our journey in Thailand. It makes us appreciate all the other countries we've been in much more, or even more so, because of how the community embraced us while we were there. So I just encourage you all to give it a chance. On big budgets, small budgets, it can be done.
Absolutely. Thank you again for joining me, and we'll see you next time on
See you
Global
next time.
Groove.